Welcome back to Mr. Idioms, the podcast where we help you sound less like a learner and more like a natural English speaker. I'm Johnson.
And I'm Sarah. Today's episode is all about describing your daily routine, but not in the basic, repetitive way most people do. We're focusing on how native speakers describe their everyday life using idioms.
Because let's be honest, everyone knows how to say, I wake up, I go to work, I eat dinner, and I sleep. That kind of answer is clear, but it doesn't show fluency.
Exactly. Advanced English isn't about using long or complicated words. It's about using the right expressions at the right time. Idioms help you sound natural, confident, and experienced with the language.
So today, we're going to walk through a full day from morning to night and show you how to describe your routine using idioms that native speakers actually use.
Let's start with the morning, because how you describe your morning already tells people a lot about your lifestyle.
Morning routine idioms. A very common idiom for early mornings is at the crack of dawn. This means very early, usually when the sun is just coming up.
So instead of saying, I wake up very early, you can say, I'm usually up at the crack of dawn. It sounds much more natural and expressive.
Now, once you wake up, what happens next? If your mornings are busy and active, there's a great idiom for that.
To hit the ground running. This idiom means you start your day with energy and immediate action without wasting time.
For example, on weekdays, I wake up and hit the ground running. I check my messages, get dressed quickly, and head out the door.
But not everyone is energetic in the morning, and that's fine. Native speakers have idioms for that, too.
You could say, I'm slow to get going in the morning, which means you need time to feel awake and focused.
Or, more idiomatically, I need time to find my feet before I'm fully awake. This suggests that you don't function well immediately after waking.
And for many people, mornings don't really start until they've had coffee.
That's why you'll often hear people say, I'm not human until I've had my first cup of coffee. It's humorous, informal, and very common.
Already, with just a few idioms, your morning routine sounds much more vivid than a simple list of actions.
Transitioning into the workday. After the morning routine, most people move into work or study. This is another great opportunity to use idioms.
Instead of saying, I start work at 9, you can say, I get down to business around 9.
That expression suggests focus and seriousness, not just a schedule.
If your job is busy or demanding, you might say, once the day starts, it's full steam ahead.
This idiom creates the image of moving forward quickly and with pressure, which is perfect for fast-paced jobs.
For the less exciting but necessary parts of work, there's a very useful idiom.
The nuts and bolts. This refers to basic, practical tasks that keep things running.
So you could say, my mornings are usually spent dealing with the nuts and bolts of my job.
And if your meetings control your schedule, there's an idiom that describes that perfectly.
My day is wall-to-wall meetings. This means meetings fill almost every available moment.
At this point, you can already see how idioms turn a simple routine into a clear picture of your daily life.
That's where we'll pause for now. In the next part, we'll move through the middle of the day, talk about stress, deadlines, and the afternoon energy crash.
Stay with us, because the idioms in the second part are some of the most useful for work, exams, and interviews. Welcome back to Mr. Idioms. In the first part, we talked about mornings and the start of the workday. Now let's move into the middle of the day, when reality really kicks in.
Yes, this is usually when responsibilities pile up, energy starts dropping, and idioms become extremely useful for describing how you actually feel.
Handling pressure and deadlines. By late morning, many people are already feeling pressure at work or school.
Instead of saying, I'm very busy or I feel stressed, native speakers often use stronger idioms.
A very common one is to be under the gun. This means you're working under pressure, usually because of time limits.
For example, by late morning, I'm usually under the gun trying to finish tasks before deadlines.
Another powerful idiom is, deadlines are breathing down my neck.
This creates the image of pressure being very close and impossible to ignore.
You could say, at work, deadlines are constantly breathing down my neck, so I rarely get a quiet moment.
If problems or tasks appear one after another, there's a useful expression for that too.
Things keep piling up. This idiom works perfectly for describing a heavy workload.
So instead of listing tasks, you simply say, by midday, things start piling up.
Now let's talk about lunch, which for many people isn't very relaxing.
Exactly. A lot of professionals don't sit down for a proper meal.
That's why you often hear the idiom to grab a bite.
For example, I usually grab a bite between meetings rather than taking a full lunch break.
You can also add on the go, which suggests movement and lack of time.
I grab a bite on the go immediately tells us your day is rushed.
A lunch is short and rushed. You might also say, lunch is over in no time.
All of these expressions sound far more natural than simply saying, I eat lunch quickly.
The afternoon energy slump.
Yes, and English has some excellent idioms for this moment.
One of the most common is to hit a wall.
This means you suddenly feel tired or mentally exhausted.
For example, around 3 o'clock, I usually hit a wall and struggle to concentrate.
Another natural expression is my energy levels dip in the afternoon.
This sounds calm and professional, which is great for interviews.
But many people don't have the option to stop working.
That's where the idiom to power through comes in.
You could say, even when I feel drained, I power through the rest of the afternoon.
This idiom shows determination and responsibility, which interviewers love.
Staying focused despite fatigue.
Sometimes staying focused becomes a challenge later in the day.
Instead of saying, I try to focus, you can use idioms that sound more advanced.
One option is, I do my best to stay on track.
Or, I try not to lose momentum.
Both expressions suggest effort and control over your routine.
If distractions appear, you might say, it's hard to keep my mind on the task at hand.
Again, much more natural than a simple description. So far, we've covered the most demanding part of the day: pressure, lunch, and fatigue.
And notice how idioms allow you to describe not just actions, but feelings and mental states.
In the final part, we'll move into the evening and night, where routines slow down and reflection begins.
We'll also put everything together into a full advanced level sample answer. Welcome back to Mr. Idioms. In this final part, we're moving into the evening and night when the pace slows down and people finally get some space to breathe.
This part of the day is especially important because it shows balance. Native speakers often use idioms here to describe relaxation, habits, and reflection.
Wrapping up the workday. Let's start with the end of the workday. Instead of saying, I finish work at 6, there's a much more natural expression.
To wrap things up, this idiom means to finish tasks and prepare to stop working.
For example, I usually wrap things up around 6 and get ready to head home.
If work doesn't end cleanly, you can show that with idioms too.
You might say, I'm often tied up with work well into the evening.
Tied up suggests you don't have control over your time, which is very realistic.
Another useful expression is work spills over into the evening.
That phrase works well in both professional and casual situations.
Evening relaxation idioms. Once work is done, most people want to relax.
One of the most common idioms here is to unwind.
For example, when I get home, I take some time to unwind.
You can be more specific by adding activities.
I unwind by listening to music or going for a short walk.
Another informal but very natural idiom is to kick back.
You might say, in the evening, I kick back and watch a series.
If you want to show a clear mental break from work, this idiom is perfect.
To switch off from work.
For example, I make a real effort to switch off from work in the evenings.
That expression is excellent for interviews because it shows healthy boundaries.
Now let's move closer to bedtime.
If you stay up late working or studying, there's a very strong idiom for that.
To burn the midnight oil.
For example, during the week, I often burn the midnight oil to finish projects.
If you don't stay up late, you can show discipline instead.
I try to turn in early on weeknights.
Turn in is a natural and slightly informal way to say go to bed.
Before sleeping, many people think about their day.
That's where reflective idioms come in.
You could say, before turning in, I take stock of the day.
This idiom suggests reflection and evaluation.
Another option is, I go over what I managed to get done.
Both sound calm, thoughtful, and advanced.
Falling asleep idioms. Finally, let's talk about sleep itself.
If you fall asleep very quickly, this idiom is perfect.
I'm out like a light.
Short, clear, and very common.
If sleep comes easily because you're tired, you could say, I sleep like a log.
These idioms make your routine sound natural and complete.
Full advanced sample answer. Now let's put everything together into one polished, advanced level answer that you could use in an interview, exam, or conversation.
So I'm usually up at the crack of dawn, but I'm slow to get going until I've had my first cup of coffee. Once I'm awake, I hit the ground running and get down to business fairly early. Most of my morning is spent dealing with the nuts and bolts of my job, and it's often full steam ahead with deadlines breathing down my neck. I usually grab a bite on the go for lunch, and by mid-afternoon I tend to hit a wall. Even so, I power through and do my best to stay on track until I can wrap things up in the early evening. When I get home, I make a point of switching off from work, kicking back for a while, and unwinding properly. Before turning in, I take stock of the day, and more often than not, I'm out like a light.
That answer sounds confident, natural, and fluent.
Final advice. Remember, idioms work best when they feel natural.
Don't force them. Choose the ones that actually match your lifestyle.
A few well-chosen idioms are far more powerful than trying to use too many.
That brings us to the end of today's episode of Mr. Idioms.
Keep practicing, keep listening, and keep upgrading your everyday English.